And this session of Scanner School is sponsored by EastCoastPagers.com. Now, East Coast Pagers is one of my personal online businesses, and we have some great alternatives if you're looking to get away from the Motorola Minitor product. We are a Unication, Swiss Phone, and Apollo pager dealer, and there's a couple promos running right now that expire in September 30th of 2019. So I want to get these to you right now. The first one is on a Unication G1. There is a $40 instant rebate on Unication G1 pagers. This takes your pager price from $375.25 down to $335.25. That's $335.25 for a Unication G1 pager. The second promo is on G2s, G3s, G4s, and G5s. There is a trade-in promo running right now on these pagers. If you trade in a Unication G1 pager, you'll get a $60 credit towards a purchase of a G2 through a G5. If you trade in a Motorola Minitor 5 or Minitor 6, there's a $40 trade-in credit for each pager you trade in to a G2, G3, G4, or G5. Now, the final Unication promo that expires on September 30th, 2019 is 50% off of a replacement battery for your G4 or G5. And again, these batteries also fit in the G2s and G3s, but you probably don't need batteries for those pages because they're just coming out in the market right now. Unication wants to make sure that you are updating the batteries because batteries have a shelf life. The trick is we need your old battery back. 50% off by trading in your old, tired, and ready to be retired battery. To qualify for these, you just need to go to EastCoastPagers.com. You can contact us. Again, you'll contact me directly, and that's how you take advantage of these Unication promos. Now, again, I got one more for you here. Swiss Phone has a $50 rebate on their S-Quad Voice and S-Quad 360 pagers. Again, this is a trade-in program as well. Trade in any working pager. Again, any working pager is a $50 credit on a Swiss Phone, S-Quad Voice, or S-Quad 360. Now, again, all these promotions expire September 30th, 2019. You may contact me directly, Phil at EastCoastPagers.com. Again, Phil at EastCoastPagers.com. Again, these promos expire September 30th, 2019.
Welcome to The Scanner School, a podcast dedicated to the scanner radio hobby. Class is about to begin. Here is your host, Phil Lichtenberger.
How's it going, everyone? My name is Phil Lichtenberger. This is Scanner School. We teach you everything you need to know about the scanner radio hobby, and this is session number 84. Today's session, again, you are a fly on the wall. I love doing these types of podcasts. You're a fly on the wall on a consulting call that I had with Ty Stevens. Now, Ty was the winner of last month's Ask Scanner School I don't want to say raffle or contest because it's neither one of those. Basically, if you leave me a voicemail question for Ask Scanner School, either on our SpeakPipe or our phone number, again, you go to scannerschool.com/ask to do that, and I'll pick a winner, and you'll win a free consulting call with me. Now, again, I was saying the consulting calls were about 30 minutes in length, but most of my calls go over that. And I'm just going to say now you'll get a consulting call for up to an hour. Let's put it that way, because most of the calls go for about 45 to 50 minutes. So I think that that's just where I'm going to say it from now on. So if you don't win and you still want to hire me to have a one-on-one sit down now, the time limit on now is up to an hour instead of 30 minutes. But again, going back. So Ty submitted a question via SpeakPipe with a phone number. I don't remember how he contacted us, but he did win the consulting call in last month's Ask Scanner School. This is our conversation. And again, if you want a chance to win this, next week is our next Ask Scanner School. So just hit pause right now and contact us directly. This way you don't forget to submit your question. Scannerschool.com/ask. Now, again, all the session notes are available on our website, scannerschool.com/session 84. And let's just jump right into this consulting call. So Tyler, congratulations on winning the free consulting call. You submitted your question a couple weeks ago for your Ask Scanner School, and it was up against you and somebody else. And I think the odds were in your favor because it was a 50-50 chance. So it was good that you won it. So I understand you're having a little bit of an issue with your Unit 436 HP with Sentinel. So we'll go through that, chase down your issues, and hopefully by the end of the call we'll have you on the path of being an expert on this device. So
That'd be perfect. And I did purchase the SDS 100.
Oh, you did. Excellent.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
So
So you don't have the 436 anymore. You have them. Oh, I had that wrong.
no, it's been the SDS
It
100.
has been. Okay. Well, off to a good start then on this one. Okay.
That's
So
okay.
how have you been using it so far?
We've loved it. Actually, we took it out as a family, and we went into Grand Teton National Park, and we were sitting there having a picnic, and two rangers were running past us, and they had their radios on, communicating about bears that were in the area. And the whole time we were there, we were able to listen to it through the scanner. And those rangers ended up chasing the bear about 20 yards within where we were at. And so we were able to follow everything that they were doing as they were chasing the bear around. And ultimately, that's kind of what we got it for, was to be able to spot wildlife within the two parks, Yellowstone and Grand Teton. And so it worked. But I
Excellent.
think there's probably more that we can benefit from than just that, if I knew how to use it properly and set it up
Mhm.
right. So that's
Okay.
what I was hoping to do.
Gotcha. All right. And then you were talking too about back and forth via email. You were having issues listening to, I guess, the state PD and your scan rates, right?
Yeah, the problem out in this country is we've got mountains everywhere and
Okay.
canyons, so it's really hard to get good reception. Through your website, I went to Scanner Master and they recommended two antennas,
Okay.
and so anyway, you helped me select one, and hopefully that'll be here tomorrow.
Excellent. And then what neck of the woods are you in? I mean, I don't need the exact town, but a county and a state would help out.
Yeah, yep, we're in Lincoln County, Wyoming, and
Okay.
Etna, Wyoming more specifically. Yeah.
Okay. So let's do this. Let me bring up a web browser on my end, and I'll share the screen with you so we can take a look at some things here. And then what we'll do is we'll look at your Sentinel afterwards, after we do a little bit of research, and take a look. So I'm just going to bring up my web browser here. Okay, and then I'm going to share this page with you. Okay, so you should see the radio reference website
Yep.
on your
Yeah.
screen. Okay, let me just get rid of some of these little things here. We'll go to Wyoming, and you'll see my geography isn't really the best.
Okay.
Boy, you don't. Not too. I got lucky on that one. I just moved the mouse to the middle of the states, and I figured it was one of the square ones.
You got
Lincoln. All right. So let's take a look here. So you have Lincoln County. So you have the sheriffs. You have some regional stuff in here. You have a DMR Tier 3, DMR Capacity Plus, Project 25. And I'm assuming you have probably some state stuff in here as well, right? If I go back to Wyoming. Wyoming Federal. Let's see what else we got here. Highway Patrol. So it's Highway Patrol is the one you're trying to listen to that is falling out for you?
Yeah, that's one of them.
Okay. What would the other one be?
The local sheriff's department.
Okay. So
And
let's
the
take a
other
look.
challenge for me is, see, for my work, I travel anywhere between 3 to 5 counties a day.
Okay.
So I try to pick up as much as I can in the counties that I'm in.
All right. We'll come across that in a second too. I'm just making some notes here. And if I forget to talk about anything, just let me know. So the Sheriff's North, Sheriff's Tactical, and also over here is what you've been trying to listen to as well.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So let's take a quick look at this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the license. I don't know if you've ever done this before, but if you click on the license under the like on Lincoln County, I'm picking on the license, which is WPM I873,
Okay.
and it will actually bring up a map of the tower location. So it looks like this is just a single location on this license. So if we were to zoom out on here, I mean, it's really not. Here we go. You can kind of see where that tower is centrally located, is in this area right here. I would expect to. Yeah, here we have two locations. Actually, there's two licensing, two locations, but it's the same location. What we probably don't see on here, though, is they probably have other receiver sites, which is what I'm assuming. So, because you said there's lots of canyons and
Yep.
terrain in here, so they may be some voting sites in here, which basically means that they're listening on the receive side of things, and they're going to then over a POTS line or a telco backhaul or fiber or some sort of other backhaul, they may take that receive site and then transmit it back to the dispatcher office on a line you can't hear, so that they stay within range of all the receivers. And then it's just they have to just listen to the transmitter. So that might be. I mean, I'm assuming here because I don't know if this is how it's done by you. If they repeat or if you're just losing the transmitter site as you're driving around. That might be what's happening. I'm not sure if it's you're just missing out on the cars or are you just losing dispatcher also.
Well, when I show you my Sentinel, you may say to me, I just got too many channels to scan, and that's why.
Okay, so you're not leaving it on this frequency, and you're not missing one side of the conversation because you're missing it that way. You're missing it because you might be scanning. Okay, so that's something else to look at. And let's look at the state PD just for the same reason. Go back to Wyoming, and then we go back to Highway Patrol. Okay, so they are on the WyoLink, so they're on the statewide system. And then we have, let's see, state government, car to car. We have a couple of dispatch channels in here. Okay, and if I go to the WyoLink, what's on the WyoLink for state? Wow, there's a lot. This is complete statewide system.
Can I ask you about that while you're on there?
Okay, hold on. Yep, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, that system frequency there. Are those tower sites?
Yes.
Okay. So if they're not within the counties that I'm driving, if I wanted to, like if I tried to move WyoLink over to Sentinel, it pulls every site over with it every time.
Yep.
Can I delete those as they are not in the counties that I'm in?
Yes, and you should.
Okay.
Because the scanner is going to try to lock on to each one of these towers, and it will slow up your scan rate. Because it's going to, it's going to scan through each one. Am I here? Am I here? Am I here? And then it's going to say, okay, I'm on this tower. It's got to register with it. And then once there's no activity on this tower that you're looking for, then it's going to go, okay, what about this one?
Yeah.
What about this one? And then as it's going to scan through the list, trying to lock on to each one. Some of these may come in, you might be able to hear them, but it might be too weak. So always when best, you just put in the minimum number of towers. At least that's the way I do my programming. The minimum number of towers required to get the job done. Also, if you look at here where it says, Lincoln Narrows Hill, this is the footprint of that tower, according to what they've populated in radio reference. Okay. So if we look at, say, this one, let me bring up another one here. And then we look at another one from Lincoln. So that was Oyster, or we'll look at, which one was this? Narrows Hill. So let's look at Oyster Ridge. So Oyster Ridge is centered on this latitude, longitude, and it's got a range of 35 miles.
Okay.
Whereas, did I lose it now? Yeah, I lost it. Narrows Hill. Here's the latitude, longitude, and it's a 30-mile range.
Okay.
So if we click on the license here, you could probably see you have all the different locations too under that license.
Yeah.
So when it's telling you it's tower. So these all might light up together.
Okay.
So what I would, and we'll go on to this a little bit further when you start talking about your counties. So you can kind of see, I mean, if you're like in any one of these outside, like say you're in Mountain View, that's just outside of this coverage. There's really, I mean, you could listen to this tower, but you may want to listen to the tower that covers Mountain View better.
Sure. Okay.
So that might be something to look out for. But I do have some other suggestions for you, and we'll talk about those in just one second. Just out of curiosity, though, I'd like to swap screens with you and take a look at your Sentinel file, if that's all right.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is I'll go into Skype here, and I'll show you what you'll do is when you move the mouse over Skype, there's a little window over here with two screens in it.
Okay.
And you'll click on there, and it's going to say, let's see if I can just switch. Nope. But it's going to say switch, share screen, and then at the bottom you just click on share screen, and then that will share the screen with me on your end.
Okay.
So what is in your so So I see your favorites list. You have WSHP, you have the WildLink trunk system. You got all the stuff in there for that.
And see, I went through and I cleaned up as best I could from radio reference all those sites.
Okay.
I eliminated quite a few of them. Where I was getting confused is, and I didn't know if I'm scanning things that I shouldn't be, like the Wyoming Highway Patrol had or has this frequency here to listen to, but then down under WildLink, they also have this group here, and I sorted out. I mean, there was many, but I took out the ones that apply to my area.
Okay.
So when I set this up, should I include this in with this? I mean, am I getting the same information twice?
You might be. I'm not sure because I'm not able to listen to your system. Sometimes what they'll do is they'll simulcast on the trunking onto a conventional channel because if you're outside the range of the system. But it looked like before the frequencies in here were VHF, and so is that other channel. So I would assume that they would have the same range on it, but it might be that they might simulcast the dispatch from Troop K onto this VHF channel for Troop K, but you would have to try and figure that out basically on your own. A good place to ask that would be the radio reference forum into the Wyoming area, and they'd be able to answer that for you out there. But I unfortunately don't have that information for you.
I mean, is the other option there too? Is just kind of track what stations it is or what channels it's coming up on to know which one they're broadcasting.
Yeah, I mean, an easier way to do it. I mean, assume that this is your only scanner, but sometimes it'd be easier if you had another scanner that just listened to that VHF channel, and then this would listen to the trunk channel. But again, you can probably just ask on the forums and radio reference, and just ask them. You have a scanner. You want to know if the VHF dispatch channel for Troop K is also the simulcast on talk group. Looks like on here it would be talk group 6386. In fact, if we go back over to the radio reference database for WildLink, if we go down to Troop K, was it 64?
Oh, sorry.
6486? No, it's okay. 6386? 6386. It says it's Troop K dispatch. It doesn't say anything about being simulcast. Sometimes in the, I'm looking locally on my side. Sometimes it says in the radio reference database that this is also a simulcast of, frequency whatever, XYZ, or if you go on to the conventional side of things, it'll tell you there too that this is also simulcasted on talk group, whatever. So sometimes people put that information into the radio reference database so that it gives you a little bit of an idea of where else you might be able to do it. Just speculating because that information is not there. It could be that nobody populated that, or it could be that it's two separate channels.
Okay.
So a little bit of homework, on your part would probably just be the best answer, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Let's see, statewide highway. Says statewide highway patrol. All operations are conducted on WildLink. Conventional repeaters listed in the database are still serviced as backup if needed and may be used in areas with poor coverage. So I would say that you probably would hear more information than on the WildLink trunk system, and you probably wouldn't hear too much on here.
Okay. Okay. Good to know.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see. So this is what I have in my favorites, and I don't know if you had a suggestion on how to organize that. So what I did is I put my Wyoming counties, so anything that was Wyoming from here. So as I'm traveling, I could select which list to monitor, and then from about here down was everything Idaho.
Okay.
And so when I would go into the county, then I would just go in and manually select it off and turn the other one on.
It's a lot of work while you're driving.
Yeah.
Now, if you crack one of those open, if you crack open BLM Pinedale, what's in there? You have the sites in there as well again, and then.
So this one is listening to the BLM for fire reports. If they have wildfires. That's what I had that in there for, but I haven't been able to pick up anything else there or fish and wildlife since I've had it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, but all the other counties in there, I mean, those are trunk or those are conventional, or how are those?
So this is what I was going to ask you. On the eastern Idaho side of things, it looks like there's a group of them. So this encompasses area that I cover on the eastern side of Idaho. So I really didn't even know if I needed so this is Teton, Idaho, and this has the fire dispatch here, but it's also, that's Teton. So it would be Driggs, Victor, Swan Valley, and see they have all these listed here too. So that's why I wonder if I'm duplicating so much of this.
No, I don't think it's that. I want to do one thing, Noah. Can you go over under the view on the top bar? There's that little piece of paper with the pencil on Sentinel. Whoop, nope, go back to Sentinel.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay.
And it's the profile. Yep, edit profile.
Okay.
And then if you go to service types, which is on the top bar to your left a little bit. Yep. Okay, good. You have them all turned on because that's also a stumbling point for a lot of people. Is if these are turned off, you're not going to hear whatever's
Right.
turned off.
Yeah.
So it's like a secondary lockout. So, all right, so that's good. You have all that turned on, so that would eliminate another issue you could have been having. So one of the things that you do a lot of driving with the scanner,
Yeah.
and it seems like you do a lot of driving every day with it, and then you're turning things off and on. Have you considered using the GPS with the scanner at all?
Yeah. When I when I talked to the scanner master, they said, well, if you were traveling cross country, it would be worth it. Originally, that's what I was going to do was the GPS, but then telling them kind of what I was doing, they said it wouldn't really be necessary.
Okay, because I'm looking at just what you have here, and that's why I showed you the footprint of the tower sites in each one of those transmitters in the simulcast system,
Right.
or the P25 system. I don't even know if it was simulcast now. I might have just made a big error on that one. Let's see if it is simulcast. See, it's 4 counties statewide, 3 states. Well, it might be simulcast because there was a couple that had multiple transmitters on it, but anyway. So I was thinking maybe a GPS would help you because as you're coming out of the footprint of one of these towers and coming into the footprint of another one, it would turn them all off and on for you.
Okay.
So you wouldn't have to worry about cleaning up your scan list and having too much stuff in there. The GPS would take care of all that for you. So that might be one way of doing it. Because what ends up happening is the more. I'm sorry, I'm looking at my screen and thinking you could see it. But each one of these sites. So you have the Big Bend Ridge, Black Mountain, East Butte, Idaho Falls, simulcast, right? Each one of those has a location type of a circle, which means it has so much of a footprint that's defined in radio reference. As you're driving through those circles, the GPS can automatically turn those sites off and on as you're driving through the area, and even as you're driving through the trunk system, so that you're not listening to things that you really don't have to listen to because you're not trying to get onto tower sites you're not getting onto at all. The other thing to remember too is on these scanners, each site can have its own key, and each department has its own key, and so it can get a little bit cumbersome to try and do, especially when you're driving and moving around and going through big areas, especially when you have a large number of sites like it is that you have on here. So I know Scanner Master had their thoughts on this, and my thought on it might be just to keep your scan list short as possible. It might be worthwhile to look at the GPS as an option for the scanner.
Okay.
Now, if you do use the GPS, what you'd want to do is you'd want to use the global database, and you would let the global database dictate what it is that you're listening to, because from there, the GPS is going to overwrite your zip code. So, and again, you may want to set the range on the GPS to be a 0. This way, as you drive into the circle, that's when it turns on. And as you drive out of that circle, that's when it turns off. Okay. What happens is that if you have a radius range on that GPS, it's you plus a buffer of that distance to get to the coverage area. So if you had a range of 10 miles, that would mean 10 miles away from the boundary of the circle we looked at before for the tower site. That's when you're going to start monitoring it. So that might give you too much to listen to or too much to try and scan through. Especially with a system like this that has a lot of overlap on it, I think leaving it as a 0 might work out well for you. And plus, too, as you come out of Wyoming and you go through other states, it would turn off what you don't need to listen to, which you're doing manually anyway. So it'd be one less thing for you to have to worry about doing while you're driving. Allow you to concentrate a little bit more on the driving.
Yep.
So, and then the other thing too is when you're using the scanner, I guess you're using it as a dash mount or on your cup holder with just the factory antenna on it, or the Remtronics.
Yeah, so I did do the Remtronics, which helped, but it's still, I mean, for me to get coverage, even going into Jackson, Wyoming, which is the biggest town on this side of the state, I've got to be within sight pretty much of Jackson before I get any coverage.
Okay. Now, that could be the way that the network was designed. They might have it set up so that those tower sites really only cover a small area. I know NYPD does that here, where certain, they have the larger sites like citywide that covers, I can hear all the way out to here. But some of the small precincts, they have smaller footprints, and they're only really made to cover those smaller areas of the precincts, so you can't really hear them without an external antenna. And that's what I might be thinking what's going on here too. That might be an option or a theory. But you're always going to get better reception when you have an antenna outside the vehicle. So I don't know if you've looked at going with something like, I think Scanner Master sells the, I can't think of the name of it now. I can picture it in my head. But they have a nice little mag mount antenna that goes outside that has the SMA connector on it.
Yeah, that's what he recommended, was the Spectrum Force.
Spectrum Force, yes,
Yep.
yes.
Okay.
Because what happens too is now you have the antennas on the outside of your vehicle, and plus it uses your vehicle as the second half of the antenna. So, that might definitely help you with your range as well. The Remtronics too, because it looks like a lot of the frequencies you're looking at are VHF, and while the Remtronics might work better than the stock antenna on the VHF, it's really tailored more towards UHF and 800, as far as at least what I'm looking at for the specs. Yeah. So you probably are seeing a little bit of benefit, but you probably would have seen a bigger benefit on the upper end of the spectrum on that antenna. So my thought would be as the next upgrade path for you would probably be with the antenna, the mag mount antenna, and then maybe to help you out with the scanning and to cut down on the scan list would be for the GPS.
Okay. GPS. Now, let's say that I take this this handheld out of my car, like if we go on the picnic, what would you recommend for what you're seeing like in Grand Teton? So up here, Grand Teton, Wyoming Federal, this is where we spend a lot of our time between here and Yellowstone. What kind of antenna would you recommend here once I go out of the car?
Okay, well, let's take a look. Let me grab the screen back from you again.
Okay.
And let's see. Share screen. Start sharing. So now you should see my screen again?
Yep.
Okay, so let's go back over to there. So that was under Wyoming. Was that a federal?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And it would be down a little ways, I think.
It's DOJ, Veterans Affairs, Fish and Wildlife,
I think it's
Bighorn National Forest.
Still down just a little ways.
What am I looking for? What's so I can do a find?
It's a Yellow National Park Service right there. Grand Teton National Park.
Okay.
Right, and Yellowstone.
Gotcha. All right, so let's just take a quick look at here and view subcategory details. And then here's a license too, so we're going to click on the license just to get an idea. Nope, no information found in that call sign. Interesting. So we hit a wall on this one. Let's take another look. These are depreciated. Boom, boom, boom. These aren't in use anymore.
Okay.
So it would just be these frequencies here, which don't have a license attached to them, and they're not going to because these are federal frequencies.
Uh-huh.
So, let's see now. Let's get a better idea on this one too. Yeah, the terrain in here is crazy.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell because they may have one transmitter site very high up on the mountain.
Okay.
Again, speculating here.
Yep.
they may have several sites that are linked together, and all will transmit at the same time. And they could have a couple of receive sites somewhere, but the receive sites don't help you out because you want to hear the transmitter side. When you're listening to it, I guess you would hear both sides of the conversation. You hear a dispatcher and the field units.
Yeah. When we were in the park. Yep.
All right, so you're listening for the transmitter sites on that, so that's fine. And again, it might be multiple transmitter locations, but what ends up happening is, again, the antenna may help you out. I don't know if the Remtronics will help you out, but again, you're camping with it, right? So you're going to put it on a picnic table and let it go. Let's see So I'm not sure how the Remtronics works on VHF. I use Diamond antennas, and there's the Diamond 77CA. But again, I'll do it right here for you. This is Diamond RH77CA. This is a nice set-top antenna. It's about 22 inches long, and I've been using this for quite a long time. Actually, it's 15 inches long, but I've been using this for many years. One of the very first aftermarket antennas I purchased for when I first started getting involved with this. And it really picks up things like crazy. Keep in mind, though, it's a handheld type of antenna. It's not going to operate as well as a mobile antenna probably, and it's not as well as something you could throw up in a tree if you want to do it that way either. Sometimes even taking the mag mount antenna and throwing it on like a metal garbage lid, would help you out as well. So maybe something you can put up a little bit, and then you put the that spectrum force on it as well. May help you out. May even be even better for you. Yeah. So, but again, if you use an antenna like this isn't going to fit on top of the SDS 100 because of that piece of plastic they have up there. Yeah. So what you may end up using is the included SMA to BNC adapter that came with it. Okay. And then you would buy the BNC version of this antenna, and this way it goes on top of there.
You said the BNC version?
BNC, yeah. I think the antenna, the scanner came with the BNC adapter, right? So that you can use aftermarket antennas on it.
Yep.
I don't have it sitting here handy.
I
don't think this one's it. I have an aftermarket one that somebody manufactured, and it sits flush with the scanner, which is really nice. But I don't think the guy makes it anymore. But yeah, it's not going to sit exactly flush with the top of that scanner because it does have that plastic lip on it. Yeah. So you have to be aware of that. So it's not going to look exactly pretty, but that's no fault to the antenna. That's more of a fault to the radio itself.
The design.
The design of it, because they try to keep it watertight as possible. Yeah. So, okay. But yeah, it definitely sounds like it's more of a receive issue on your end. I mean, multiple, right? So you have a receive issue, just based on the geographical area that you're in. So we try and limit to help that out. And again, to help that one out, you would want to have a better type of antenna. Again, you see down here it says it's a relative gain of 6 dB. Mm-hmm. So the higher the gain, the basically the stronger the ears are on the antenna is the best way to say it. So that it's got bigger ears, so it can receive a little bit further.
Okay.
And this is over a ground plane antenna, which has no gain. That's what they're relating it to. The standard antenna that you have with the scanner is basically it works equally well over a large group of frequencies, so it's not really tuned the greatest. Let's do scanner school.com. Remtronics, I think, is what the short link was. Yep. So you see with the Remtronics, it says right here that it's 700 to 900 megahertz. It's 7 inches. It's an improvement over the factory antenna. It doesn't really say in here that it was, and it says extra range is 700, 800, 900. So you're looking for more of an improvement over the VHF side of the house.
Okay.
So, it says right here, this is the first review right here. It says it will increase signals in 700, 800 and will work well on UHF. So as the frequencies go up, right, the size of the antenna comes down. Mm-hmm. So again, that's why something like this, because it says coverage on 2 meters and 70 centimeters. 2 meters is 144 megahertz. You're trying to cover on this, right, 150, 170. So it's still in the same ballpark.
Right. Okay.
So this antenna here is cut more for what it is that you're trying to listen to.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And it also works well on 700, 800. So if I go to diamondantenna.net, I think it's the website. Yep. This is their own internal or their own site.
Okay.
And if we come in here to diamond to HT antennas, dual band, tri-band, yeah. Where is it? 77CA. Here it is, up here. So yeah, it was just plus receive up to 900.
Okay.
So this will also give you the 800, 900 that you also get from the Remtronics.
Sure. Okay.
So, but again, it's a little bit bigger. It's 15 inches. It's not something you want to put the scanner on your belt and then have this still so poke you in the armpit all day long as you're wearing it.
Right. Right.
So but it works. It works really well.
Okay. Okay. On those. Can I get that through your site then?
No. Actually, this is I don't have anything. Actually, if you buy it maybe through Amazon, maybe it has it. Let's see if Amazon stocks it. Would be the only way to RC77CA. Nope. Oh, I mean, it's RH. Let's see. Yeah. If you go to my Amazon link,
Okay.
then you can come into Amazon and buy it, and I would get credit for the sale that way.
Okay. Perfect.
But I'm not, saying this as to get a sale off of you. It's just my recommendation.
Yeah.
But
if
for
it
it.
can help, that works.
I hope it helps.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, me too. Okay, so just a quick follow-up question. So if I get the GPS locator, do I still can create a favorites list and it'll just tune to that list that I create when I come into that area? Is that
yeah,
right?
as long as you're using the favorites list that's built in to Sentinel, because if we go back, let's go back over to your Sentinel. Let me swap screens with you over here. I guess I promise I'm running on a Mac right now, so I can't even bring my own Sentinel. The other thing to remember too, when you buy the GPS for the SDS 100, that you need not only the puck, but you also need the adapter kit that allows you to go from the puck to the USB plug on the scanner. So it's a twofold piece. So you're in your favorites list here. When you go to the site, you can see, even if you go up to Wyoming Federal, just go up. Yep. You see where it says circle? You're just going to hit the X there. Location type is circle. If you double click on that, let's see if it allows you. Nope, doesn't allow you to edit it. But it should give you the latitude and longitude in there. So at least it lets you know that this favorites list does have a geo tag to it. Okay. So that if you did use your favorites list, then it would allow you to toggle these off and on. But chances are too, if you're using the GPS, you could just swap over to the global database. This way, as you're traveling around, then it will toggle things off and on for you too. Okay. So you can play around with it both ways. But again, to use the GPS, you do need two pieces. You need the actual GPS piece, and then you need the adapter that allows you to plug in from the GPS to the SDS 100. The good thing is though, it's a Y splitter with it's a Y splitter with a USB on it. So you would plug the one end into your cigarette lighter charger that has the USB on it, basically. Yeah. And then one end goes to the GPS and the other end goes into your scanner. So you can power off the scanner off the same connector that you're powering off the GPS.
Okay. Can do.
So when you, I did have one more thing I want to look at with you as well. So when you have these turned on, are you monitoring multiple favorites lists at the same time?
Yeah. Well, so like if I'm in Teton County, then I turn on usually the highway patrol and usually the wild link because I think I get more there than I do from this one. And so I'll turn on the wild link trunk. I'll turn on Teton County when I'm there, and then the state ones. So, like for example, Grand Teton National Park right here is in Teton County. So I'll usually turn that one on, this one on, and then the Wyoming State or wild link when I go. Yeah.
Okay, and now each one of these favorites lists, though, they have the sites in there, and some of them have the same. Some of these favorites lists have the same sites in them, right? All grouped in together.
Yeah. So here's Teton County here, and then on the wild link, I have Teton County.
It's Teton County down there, yeah.
Yeah.
But when you have the wild link on, that's the favorites list, the wild link.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
why.
So you're scanning through each one of those sites and then each one of those talk groups while you're on there. Because I was asking that too. I didn't know if you had, like Teton County, and then you had the trunk system in there, also part of the favorites list, and then you have Lincoln, and then you have you have the wire link in there on Lincoln as well. Because every time it comes out of the favorites list, it's going to then try and get back onto the trunk system because it's doing something new now. So that could also slow up your scan rate. Because if you have, say you have 3 sites, for example, on Teton County, and let's just say that, for example, those same 3 sites, even though they probably aren't, but those 3 sites are also in use in Lincoln County. What would happen is your scanner would go through Lincoln County on those 3 sites, then it would jump into Teton County and look through those 3 same sites again. Whereas if it was on one list, it would just stay on the site and look through both counties while it was locked on that control channel. So that's a way of speeding up the scan rate a little bit.
Yeah.
Because every time it leaves the favorites list, it's going to again then go back in through. And every time it has to go to another site, it slows up the favorites list. Every time it goes on to a trunk system, it slows up the scan rate because it has to get onto that trunk system and figure out where it is and then start looking through all the talk groups and everything else. So the more work you're giving the scanner to do, the slower it actually becomes. That's also why, too, I was saying maybe with the GPS. But again, the GPS may not be, if you're looking for something very specific, too. Because, again, you're looking for school districts on here, and you have emergency management, and anything you don't really need, you can lock out, and that would also speed up your scan rate as well. So, but it looks like you're set up pretty well because you have each county as its own own favorites list. So I like that because now you're not listening to just something big.
Right.
But if you look at, let's see what else you got here. You got so the Wyoming trunk though, that's got everything in it.
Yeah. So I broke this out because if I tried to move, for example, if I tried to take Teton County out of here and put it under Teton County, then it wanted to put all these sites under there as well. So I broke Wyoming out on its own. And then I just went in, and wherever there's county, I just put the county information in here instead of the state Wyoming.
You can't select the site and then just right click on that site and add it to the favorites list.
Like this one.
Yeah, and if you right click and
that
already is a favorites list. Yeah, if you went to the global database, would you be able to do it from there? Actually, wait. If you go up to Wyoming, click on Wyoming.
Here.
Yep, and then look for the site on that side. Yeah, and then right click on it. Nope, it's not letting you do it from there either.
And I think I did try that. And then if I came down here to, so this is where the sites come in. They start right here at this 3 mile. And it won't let me.
Oh, wow, I won't let you pick the site.
It wasn't, but like starting with Yoder, where it's actually a town, then it would let me, but not the site individually.
And if you pick that one site, if you pick that one department, it would bring in all the sites.
Yeah. So if I add, say, I added the Sublette County, it would take in everything from 3 mile down every time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work to clean up.
Yeah. So
and again,
that's why I did it on this one. And see, I deleted a whole bunch of them. And here the ones that weren't in the county.
And that's the best thing to do too, is to clean them all up. If you don't need them in there, you don't need those sites, and clean them up. The other thing to remember though, when you're playing around with Sentinel, when you do a database update, it doesn't update anything in your favorites list. It only updates the global database. So if anything were to change in the future, you would have to recreate or append that back into your favorites list, which is why sometimes it's a little bit easier. Just if you're going to do GPS-based driving, you just do the database, the global database, and then you set your scan selection or your scan lists up, or your service lists to what it is you want to listen to. So if you want to turn on federal, you would turn on EMS and PD and fire, I guess, whatever it is that you would want. And then you say you turn off hospitals, you turn off ham, you turn off FRSG, you turn off all the nonsense stuff you're not really interested in listening to. And while you're out driving around, maybe you leave the global database on with the GPS, and then when you get home, then you can turn on your favorites list and just monitor your local stuff. or while you're on the campground, you just monitor the local stuff by just putting in the favorites list. So
So that
that might,
a lot of going around with the favorites list by doing the GPS then.
yeah. Well, basically, what's going to happen is the GPS is going to turn off and on your favorites list and make sure the sites are on that you can monitor and those kinds of things. So it's going to do a lot of that streamlining. But again, if you have too large of a range, it's going to put too much in, and it's really going to slow you down. That's why I was saying a range of 0 is probably best for what you're using. Because while you're in the state of Wyoming, right, you're going to be on that statewide system because it has the entire state's covered underneath there.
Yeah.
Under that footprint.
Okay.
So it's something to play around with. I know it's tough where you are because you're in a different environment than where I'm over here. I mean, here it's urban, and there's towers and building tops all over the place. It's dense. Where you are, you have one tower trying to cover a lot of square miles, and based on the different terrain, that things come in and things go. So a lot of RF is just line of sight. That's the way it just operates. And sometimes the higher the antenna, the better the gain. That's what you have to do to try and get things to work the right way. So even sometimes too, as if you had like one of those slingshots, you might be able to throw a tennis ball up in a tree and then hoist up an antenna, and then that might help you out as well. And have the antenna come down on coax, because now you have the antenna up 20 feet up in the air. It's better than having it on the park bench. Yeah. And that might help you out as well.
Sure.
But I don't know how crazy you want to get with it. I mean, you can go nuts with this kind of stuff.
Oh, so. Yeah. It's easy this is the first one I had, and I've loved it. And I think based on what you've given me so far, if I start with, and I've been writing them down, possibly the GPS, then the antenna, I'll probably change out that antenna to that diamond antenna.
Right, and you got to remember too, right? These park rangers, they're walking around or they're driving around their vehicle. Yeah. So if they're in a vehicle, they have an external antenna. If they're operating from the hip, then they got to be something close by that is receiving them, and they're able to hear the system. So in theory, if they're able to receive it on a portable, you should be able to receive it on a portable as well.
Yeah.
Or at least get really close to it. I mean, commercial gear does receive better than scanners because they're cut and made for that frequency, whereas a scanner's got a larger footprint it's got to cover. So you do take a compromise on that. But if they're operating from, you try and mimic what they're operating from, I think is the best way to say it.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna get on this tonight. I'll go through each of the sites and see if that circle is where I need it to be. I may be able to eliminate some more. So, yeah, this has been great. This will help me get going the right direction. And I did not know that either. I did not know that Sentinel wouldn't update my favorites list.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Yeah, and if you have all these saved in here and you've gone out and you've cut down all these sites, the next time you try and go in there and you try to add more groups back in there, I don't know if it's going to add the new sites back in there, but it's possible it could. Yeah. So, I mean, because right here I only have 2 sites to worry about. I have 2 simulcasts, a north and a south, and that's it. So, I don't have a statewide system. New York is backwards.
Well, you come out this way and we'll go track down some wildlife.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah. So, do you have? I mean, did I answer your questions? I mean.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to. I've already extended you farther than.
No, I want to make sure that, because this is different than where, like I said, I'm urban area. You're more rural than I am here, so it's a difference.
Well, see, that's the other thing too, is I tried to throw a broad net instead of just listening to highway patrol and maybe EMS. Out in this country, they may not communicate for a half hour. And so then that's why I was starting to think, well, maybe I could pull in Fish and Wildlife and BLM and see if I can get more activity. But by doing that, then it does give it a longer list of scans. So.
It does, and again, if you're constantly coming in off and on trunk systems and tower sites, that does slow up your scan rate. And then as you're coming through the conventional stuff, it's just blowing through it, right? It's just rapidly going through the conventional stuff because there's nothing really for it to do. So you could end up missing more information on the conventional stuff because you're spending too much time on the trunk systems. Now, on the flip side, what you can do on here too is you can actually set the hold time the delay time on each favorite list. So if you wanted to spend, say, more time on a conventional frequency, I think like the Parks Department you had, was it GTNP?
Yeah.
Was that conventional? Yes.
Yeah.
So you can actually set a delay time here. So maybe you can have it say set 5 seconds, and every time it comes to GTNP, just wait here for 5 seconds for any data traffic, any traffic.
Sure.
And then after 5 seconds of sitting here, if you haven't heard anything, then go on to the rest of the scan list. Now, again, that's going to slow up your scan rate on the scanner, but it will increase the odds of picking something up here.
So is that done through Sentinel or through the radio on the
That would be right through here. You can do it right through here. So if you right-click on, I think you have to go into GTNP, which is your favorite list name, right? Right-click on there. You want to go to Program Favorites. And then you want to go into Is it Options? Nope. Go to Wyoming Federal on your left-hand side. That's where it will be under. And then go to Options here. And then there should be a hold time.
There it is.
Yep.
So I can set that and play with it. Okay.
Right. Now that digital waiting time too,
Yeah.
that digital waiting time basically means that it's going to wait 400 milliseconds to determine if that frequency is being used by analog or digital. So if the frequency doesn't have an analog or a digital tag next to it, that scanner is going to wait almost half a second to determine whether or not there's P25 there or not.
Okay.
So sometimes it's just easier to lower that down to 200 milliseconds. You cut that in half, which basically might mean that you might hear the R2D2 on it more frequently if it doesn't realize that it's digital there right away. But if it's analog, you'll catch more of that analog because you're not going to miss the first half second of the transmission, basically.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of something else that you can do here to kind of help you out. But you're right, though. The wider the net, the more the scanner's doing, the more of a chance there is of missing something because you're spending a lot of time, and the more time you spend in trunking, the more time that you're spending doing other things. So.
Well, those will give me some things to try.
Yes.
And then I'd like to check back in with you, even if I got to pay for a half hour, an hour. I'd like to just maybe review what we did so that I can, if I need to tweak it a little more, I can.
Yeah, actually, I was going to offer that as well, not even as a pay for thing, but as just as a straight follow-up, just to see that if you have any questions when you start playing around with this, because I'm sure, as you tweak around it, as you get through it, and even as like an attempt too, what you may want to do is maybe want to create one favorites list, and maybe put the 3 sites that are in there that's local to you, and maybe a couple things, maybe call it a local list, and just see if playing around with that local list will speed up your your results.
Damn right. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I'd love to follow up with you, and then
okay,
just kind of give you some feedback on how that went. I'm guessing that the antenna is going to help you, even the diamond or the external will probably help. I didn't know about the Remtronics, that it was just that higher. I guess I should have researched that a little more.
It's another antenna.
It's still probably worth hanging on to, though, would you say, or should I try to send that back?
No, I think it's worthwhile because I think any antenna that's not the stock antenna usually is better. And the Remtronics is really the only aftermarket antenna out there that sits snug with the top of the SDS 100. So just for that alone, I think just ditching the stock antenna is always the first step I do when I get a radio. And I was really frustrated with the SDS 100 that it wouldn't allow me to put my diamond antennas on. So
yeah, I'll try that. I'm gonna get that antenna, order that. And,
okay, don't forget you're gonna need to use that adapter that came with it. So it's not gonna look pretty because you're gonna have that adapter sitting on there. But it might help you out. Now if you go with the Spectrum Force antenna, you can get the SMA one because you can just plug that right in and that will tighten right down on there.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but yeah, like I said, I would try with the antennas first, see where that helps you out. Then maybe from there, then play around with the scan list. If you get the scan list working right, then that's great. If not, then only because you do a lot of driving, is really why I'm recommending. You're going through 7 counties. There's no reason to listen to Lincoln County and then especially when you're in another county. I know you're locking them out manually, but if it's on somewhere else in there that you weren't aware of, or even like if you're on the statewide system, right? It's still scanning through all those other tower sites.
Yeah.
Because you didn't turn all those off. So at least if you're in Lincoln, you're only going to listen to the Lincoln town sites, the Lincoln tower sites on the statewide system instead of listening to everything or trying to listen to everything. So that might help you out as well. So.
Yeah, and it'd probably be good to have the attention elsewhere while I'm driving on the road.
Yeah. Yep.
so.
But at least you could probably use the scanner while you're driving. You can't do that here either. So.
Yeah, that's true. So,
but
Phil, I appreciate the time. I know I went over, and I apologize.
That's fine.
But
I just want to make sure you got the answers you needed, and I'll definitely be checking back in with you to make sure that things are going in the positive direction. And for jumping into this with the SDS 100 as your first scanner, I think you made an expensive choice, but I think you made a really good choice because it's a really awesome radio. So,
good. Appreciate that.
I think you did well.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks again.
Okay, I'll be in touch with you.
All right, sounds good. Thank you very much.
See ya.
All right, bye-bye. All right, Ty, again, congratulations on winning the free consulting call, and I hope that you had some benefit on what we talked about, and hopefully that things are working a little bit better for you. I'll check in with you in a couple more weeks to see how you're making out with it, and hopefully you've gotten things a little bit better for you so that you can hear a little bit more what's going on. I'm very curious to hear how things are going for you. And again, if anybody else is looking to win a free consulting call with me, just make sure you go to scannerschool.com/ask and submit your questions, and we will pick a winner from all those that use a voice method of leaving us a question. Now, again, if you're a little bit shy and you want to leave me an email instead, that is perfectly fine. The only thing is that only those who leave a voicemail are going to be in the running to win a free consulting call. Now, again, if you just want to just have a consulting call done and would rather not win one, that's available as well. Going to scannerschool.com and you can book me on there as well. Again, it's consulting calls now for up to an hour. So before we split, I want to thank our Patreon supporters. We have Scott Vaughter, Stephen Sheffield, Signals Everywhere, Craig Harper, Ken Newberry, Kenneth Fowler, William R. Can, Dan, Glenn Bryden, Anthony Saggio, Raymond Hill, James Felling, MT Bono, and Mark Beebe. Again, all the session notes from today are online at scannerschool.com/session84. Don't forget to submit your questions if you have any at scannerschool.com/ask. Scanner School is copyright 2019, Monitor Long Island, Inc. Again, my name is Phil Lichtenberger. My amateur radio call sign is W2LIE, and this is Scanner School, a podcast where we want to help you learn more about the scanner radio hobby. We'll catch you all again next Tuesday, 73.